Hey guys, what's up? I'm Ashley and I'm doing this with my family in the house. I just had to yell at my mom because she was standing right there, so that was fun. This is my second time recording this video. First time I recorded this video, I got halfway done with it without knowing that my microphone was off the entire time. I had to re-record that, and in the middle of re-recording it, my camera died. Things are just not going well for me today in the recording world. But alas, do people even say that anymore? I am ready to talk about The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This book, just Ronin. Just Ronin. That's like the one word that just sums up the whole book, like Ronin. I love Ronin. Ronin's my baby. Now I'm gonna stop talking like a crazy person and actually get into the book talk. Welcome to my book talk. Here we go. Ronan is like the Gansey of this book. He is like the main character, basically, you know? And I mean, like, Gansey still makes an appearance, but, you know, Ronan is like, it's mainly Ronan. You get so much more detail into his life and what he wants and his desires and his wishes and his fears and his deepest fears. Maggie Stiefvater's writing has not changed one bit. It's still so dreamlike and complicated, and it all flows together to make a beautiful narrative. There's so many different plots that kind of intertwine together, create this amazingly complicated and confusing plot, but it all ends up making sense. I'm just gonna put it out there right now. This is the one book that I have ever been able to predict anything correctly in. Seriously, I wrote down theories, and then I wrote my theory, and then later I came back to it, and I put an arrow, and I fucking called it. It's literally the only book that I've ever correctly predicted. And we get introduced to some new characters too. There's Kavinsky, who I don't like, the Gray Man, who I originally don't like, Green Mantle, who I really don't like, and Matthew, who I love so much with all my heart. Oh my god. There's really not much that I can say about this book because it's the sequel to The Raven Boys. It's a great book, and I really like this one a lot better than The Raven Boys, just because we do get that like really deep character development of Ronin that I completely missed out on in The Raven Boys, but also because, you know, Ronin. If you haven't picked up this book yet, I highly suggest you do, especially if you've already read The Raven Boys, because it just gets that much better. That's like literally all I can say. For those of you who haven't read it, I would suggest pausing now. So bye, not spoilery people. Let's get into this book. The moment we open in the book, we're introduced to so many different plot lines that are like so out there, and you're like, what do these have to do with each other at all? We start off with Ronan. Ronan can take things out of his dreams. It makes so much more sense after he said, you know, I took Chainsaw out of my dreams. Like, he meant literally he took Chainsaw out of his dreams. We find out that his dad was able to do it too, and that's why they lived in like the barns, this expensive mansion, and with all of these cattle and all this money, because he dreamt it all up. And I kind of feel like that's such a sad way to live, like knowing in the back of your mind that you're only rich and wealthy because you had dreamt it yourself. It wasn't really like concrete reality, it was dreamt concrete reality, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But it kind of like brings my mood down when I'm thinking about them. And then we go to the next chapter, and all of a sudden it's about the Gray Man. I'm sitting here thinking, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he using an alias? What's his real name? He seems immediately sketchy and not at all personable. He's beating up Declan looking for this Grey Warren that he says can take things out of dreams. So immediately we're like, Ronan. And then you kind of think, oh, no, not Ronan. And then you think, oh, no, don't let this man get to Ronan, no. What we do get is also another new character, Kavinsky. Joseph Kavinsky. I hated him throughout most of this book. I was partially intrigued by him, like, who the hell is this guy? But then at the same time, I was like, what the heck does he have to do with any of this? Why is he such an asshole? He's an Aglionby student, he wears noxious white sunglasses, and he drives a white Mitsubishi Evo with a knife on the side. Like, I don't think that Maggie Stiefvater could have stressed the car that he drove enough. And then you've got the whole problem that Cabeswater is disappearing for some reason, and Noah is losing energy because Cabeswater is disappearing, and Adam's becoming tired and seeing these visions and hearing these things that he shouldn't be, and there are all these like power outages and electrical outages. And throughout the whole book, they're trying to figure out, why is this happening? Why is Cabe's water gone? That one chapter when they found out that Cabe's water was missing, my heart stopped. My heart stopped and I was like frantically texting my sister. Okay, so I'm just gonna go like I did the last book, character by character, and then we can get to the ending and the cliffhanger. Okay, so let's start with Ronan, even though I've already said a lot of stuff about Ronan. So we know right off the bat, after the Grey Man says that he's looking for the Grey Warren, that Ronan is the Grey Warren. We don't really know what the Grey Warren is. It's only at the end that we find out that the Grey Warren is like the kind of messenger of Cabe's water, and that he interacts with Cabe's water and has like this bond with Cabe's water. And we find out there's a difference between being a Grey Warren and being just a dream thief. The Grey Warren has these interactions with Cabe's water, and Cabe's water relies on the Grey Warren, whereas dream thieves are able to just go into Cabe's water and take things and weaken Cabe's water without really having any kind of connection whatsoever. He's having these awful nightmares. Oh my god, we found out in the Raven Boys that he's an insomniac, but I didn't know that these were the kind of nightmares that were keeping him awake. These things would make me petrified to ever sleep, like ever. The night horrors, I literally pictured them as like 7 feet tall men with raven hats, like you know those horse heads that everybody was wearing like a year ago? Like that, but a bird, like a raven, and with like gigantic arm wings with like talons, and it was just, it scared me and I was reading it. And then Ronan's family is a completely other story. They come to find out that because Niall had passed and Niall had been killed, all of his dream things had gone into this deep slumber too, because dreams can't be without the dreamer. And that's how we find out that Niall was the one who had actually dreamt Aurora, Ronan's mom. Oh my god, that's just, that kind of builds onto the sadness that I have of Niall's life. Like, the fact that he felt the need that he needed to dream a wife for himself was just like, what was going on in his life before this that made him think that he needed to do this, that he couldn't find somebody on his own? Declan is still Declan, obviously, he's an asshole. Declan tells him that he also knows that Ronan dreamt Matthew, and you're like, wait, what? It kind of came back to me after that there had been so many comparisons drawn between Matthew and Aurora that it should have been so obvious from the beginning, but it wasn't for me. I just completely skipped over that completely, and that was just such a complete plot twist to me. And then there's Ronan's homesickness. Oh my god, I found it so ironic that Ronan was homesick for his actual home, and when he wasn't at home, he longed to be there, whereas Gansey, when he was in his actual home where he had grown up, he longed to be somewhere far away. Gansey imagined Henrietta as his home, which was really his home away from home, whereas Ronan wanted his actual home, if that makes any sense. I really kind of liked that contrast. So then, moving on to Kavinsky, I guess. Kavinsky's a character. I'm just gonna say this right now. Remember when I said that I had predicted something and it was the only thing that I had ever predicted ever, like ever? This was that. I have it written in my notes under the word theories that Kavinsky equals Grey Warren, question mark, arrow, I fucking called it! Exclamation point, ×4. With the bubble around it. The moment that Kavinsky had given Ronan the leather bracelets at Nino's Pizza, and then Ronan had come back and given Kavinsky the white sunglasses, I was like, man, he is a dreamer. He is taking things out of dreams. He is doing some shit. Something's gonna go down between that. After all of their dreaming, they actually come to find out they are the ones draining Cabe's water. Every time they dream something, every time they steal something from Cabe's water, it's weakening the ley line. And my feelings kind of come back to Niall because Kavinsky had basically dreamt up all of his friends, like Prokopenko. It's just kind of sad. If somebody feels the need that they need to dream up their own friends, what does that say about them? They're lonely. I just feel like he's so lonely all the time, and I feel really bad for him, but at the same time, I fucking hate his guts, and it's really hard for me to pick an in-between. As of right now, I've already read Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and so I know there are a lot of Ronan Adam moments, but none of them are like defining. There is that question of sexuality that is not completely answered in the Dream Thieves, but is like hinted at. Ronan doesn't really answer him when he asks him, kind of flat out, not really. So then we have Adam. He wasn't really annoying, but he was getting into a lot of fights with Gansey and Blue, and it was kind of like, we've been here before, like, we know that you're not going to accept anything from Gansey, please stop fighting with him about it. We know that Blue won't kiss you, please stop fighting with her about it. It kind of just got to that point with me, even though I understand why he was fighting, just because he was becoming so exasperated, but at the same time, that like little voice in the back of my head was like, please shut up, please stop. But that one scene in St. Agnes, his rent is going to be changed $200 less a month. Then he opens the Aglianbi letter and it says that his tuition is going to be raised $2,400 a year. And he immediately thinks, oh, this is not a coincidence, this had to be Gansey. No, he doesn't even take the second to realize that it was Ronan. It was Ronan who did that. And that just kind of brings me back to like the whole Ronan Adam thing. Like it's a thing. It's a thing. And then on the completely other end of the spectrum, we have Mr. Grey, who immediately drew connotations for me of 50 Shades of Grey. I haven't even read the book or seen the movie 50 Shades of Grey, and I have no intention of doing so, but it just immediately made me think of that, so that's how I kept imagining him in the book. He has this tough with his brother. His brother apparently wants to kill him for some reason. His brother was like a psychopath, and so he's deathly afraid of his brother, and he's also working for this guy named Greenmantle, who's his employer, who employed him to go searching for the Grey Warren. So he considers himself pretty dangerous and daunting, but apparently the women at 300 Fox Way think differently. That relationship between he and Mara, like, ooh, that is going somewhere. And then in the end, when he shoots his brother, that was such an unsuspenseful moment. When his brother was walking up to the car, and the next, boom, he's dead. All this anxiety built up about how much he's scared of his brother, and then he just kind of dead. So there's the overarching Gansey, Glendower, Blue love plot that kind of takes a back seat in this book. So I'm just gonna lightly touch on that. Gansey, he's kind of like the same guy in this book. He seems tough and controlling, but it's only because he has this air about him that makes him seem like he's better than everybody else when he's really not. There's like this theme of two different, like, contrasting in this book, like contrasting elements. Like, you've got the two different personas of Gansey, like the one aristocratic, scholarly, uppity persona, and then the like eccentric, wild, Glendower, like obsessed persona. And then there's the difference with Ronan, where he was the Ronan before Niall died versus the Ronan after Niall died that Gansey keeps stressing over and over again. And then there's the contrast between Ronan and his brothers. Ronan and Declan are always fighting. And then there's the contrast between Mr. Grey and his brother, who, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the plot at all, but I found it kind of interesting. I don't know. I seem to find like themes like that interesting. Oh my god. As soon as I read the scene where Ronan dreamt the car keys to the pig, I was like, this is not going to end well at all. Like, at all. And I'm just thinking about how pissed off Gansey is going to be. Then I guess I'll kind of touch on Blue a little bit. She's not really a huge character in this book like she was in the Raven Boys, but there is that scene with Noah that I absolutely love. Blue kind of tells him about her curse, and he goes, so does that mean that you're not going to kiss anybody? And she's like, I mean, I guess not. And he goes, well, you know, I'm already dead. And then right there, I'm like, aw, please do it. I am for this. They try, and it doesn't work the first 2 times, and then the 3rd time it works, and I love how realistic it was, because obviously, if you're kissing a dead guy and it's your first kiss, it's definitely not gonna work well. I thought that was really cute. And then at the very end, of course, he's like, you know, if I were alive, I would ask you out. And she was like, I'd say yes. And oh. And then there's the scene that she has with Gansey after she has another fight with Adam at her house, and they have that like almost kiss scene. That's the moment where you're just like, screw Adam, I want Blue and Gansey. Like, they are endgame. So yeah, in the end, you know, Kavinsky and Ronan fight because Kavinsky has Matthew and Ronan's like, where is my brother? So then Kavinsky ends up dying. Then they go back to 300 Fox Way and Blue's looking for her mom. And so she goes up to the attic and they find an overturned scrying bowl and just a little note that says, Glendower is underground, but so am I. That's how it ends. That's the end. That is the cliffhanger. Like, what? Mara, where did you go? Why couldn't you have asked for help? Why did you have to do it on your own? Why did you have to leave such a shitty note telling them where you went? It would have been nice to have a little bit of context, but like, seriously, that note could have been left by anybody. like anybody. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this. That was the end of my book talk. I'm pretty sure it was kind of all over the place, but I hope I touched on all of the points that I really wanted to, and if I didn't touch on a point that you thought was interesting, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this book or the series in general. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you want to be notified of when I upload new videos. My name is Ashley. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!